If we were in a room of about 100 people and I asked that everyone there who was nervous at all about public speaking to raise their hand, 90 to 95 people should have their hands up. That is, if they're being honest. Speech anxiety is very common, and that's why we're talking about it today. We want to emphasize that being nervous is normal. Specifically, today, we want to talk about these four topics. First, the idea that the fear of speaking is real but common. Second, the illusion of transparency, or the idea that it always feels worse to the speaker than it looks to the audience. Third, the importance and value of knowing your symptoms of speech anxiety so that you can be prepared for them. And last, some tools and tactics that may help you manage your speech anxiety. To begin, know that being nervous about speaking is very normal. In fact, you could make the argument that people who are not nervous about speaking are in fact abnormal. Survey after survey shows that Americans rate public speaking as a top fear. It's up there with snakes, spiders, and even death. There is a survey called the PRCA 24, or Personal Report of Communication Apprehension, and there's 24 questions. This is by a scholar named James McCroskey. McCroskey wanted to know how nervous people were about speaking and communicating in general. I will put a link to this survey on this video so that you can go and take the PRCA 24. Find out your score, then try to practice and apply some of the advice you'll hear today, and then take it again. See if that number has changed. Regardless of your score, realize you're not alone. Next is the idea of the illusion of transparency. As I mentioned before, this is very powerful advice in my opinion. As a young speaker who started doing competitive speaking in high school, I found myself very nervous very often. This advice was given to me by my speech coach, and it made a world of difference. In a nutshell, the illusion of transparency says that when you are nervous as a speaker, it always feels worse to you, the speaker, than it looks to your audience. In other words, when you're up there, you can feel what's going on inside of your body. You can hear your thoughts. You can perceive of all the changes happening, but your audience cannot. Yeah, they may be able to hear your voice crack or see you sweating profusely. However, they can't see the internal stress that you're under. I've had many students give a great presentation and then later apologize to me for being so nervous. I tell them I would have never known unless you told me. It's one thing to do that after the fact, but please don't say during your speech just how nervous you are. It's not necessary because you are not transparent. That brings us to the idea of overcoming or at least managing speech anxiety. The following are some tools and tactics that you can use in a general way that aren't specific to a symptom, but most people can apply them. First off, try to gain more speaking experience. I know that seems like it's difficult to do because you need to be in a public speaking classroom or have a captive audience. That's just not the case. There are other very practical examples. In other classes that you're in, if you're able to meet as a group, speak up, ask questions. If you're part of outside groups, see if you can read the announcements at meetings, for example. And of course, come to the speech lab. We're available virtually this semester while the school is closed for coronavirus, and hopefully we'll be back in our space very soon. We are there to help you gain speaking experience. Come and speak to us. We actually really enjoy it. Your roommate probably doesn't. Now, if you want to be sort of advanced with this, it may seem odd, but here's what I would say is a foolproof plan to dealing with and exposing yourself to speech apprehension or anxiety. Go to your local superstore, a Walmart, a Meijer, you name it. Wait until you're in line to pay for your items, and then start up a conversation with the person either in front of you or behind you. I know, most of us don't like the people who do that. However, if you can do that, you can give a speech. Probably the most important thing you can do before a speech in order to reduce and manage your anxiety is to be prepared. Admittedly, the first time that you give a speech, it's very nerve wracking. It's something new, you feel like you're being judged, and you feel like everyone is picking apart the words you're saying. It's sort of like riding a bike, though. The more you do it, the better you get and the more comfortable you are. I mean, imagine we started with training wheels, and most people now can ride with no hands on the handlebars. It just takes a little time and effort. That time and effort is seen through practice. And remember, practice the right way. I did a study once of students, and I asked them how they prepared for a speech in a classroom. Most of them said they did not prepare. The ones who said they did said that they read their notes quietly. That is not practicing. Practicing is when you stand up, if that's able or appropriate given the setting that you're trying to simulate. Speak out because it's not a reading assignment, it is a speaking assignment. And as I said, simulate reality the best you can. If you can get into a room that is similar or the same as the one where you will actually be speaking, do that. Grab some friends, have an audience, or of course, come to the speech lab. That's your ready-made audience ready to go. We've all heard of the little engine that could. You see the image there. I think I can, and sure enough, he made it up the hill. Now, it's important to know that this is more associated with the power of positive thinking than anything else. Positive thinking isn't magic and it doesn't work on its own. It takes a lot of effort and preparation. So when you stay positive, you're putting yourself in a successful mindset, and that allows you to look at things in a better light. Now, the opposite of that is negative thinking, of course, and that's when you think you will fail. And if you think you will fail, you increase your chances of failure. Don't get stuck in that rut. Stay positive. I like to tell students that there are many, many millions of folks who have graduated from college or been successful in the workforce, and they've all given speeches. Doesn't mean that it's their favorite thing to do. It just means that they did it and they were all right with it. It didn't kill them, it made them stronger, and I feel like that's how it will work for you as well. Next, and related, is positive visualization. This takes positive thinking one step further. Now you're using your imagination and you're seeing yourself be successful at public speaking or giving presentations. This is key for athletes, and you see it here in these images. Golfers will take practice swings. Baseball and softball players have the on-deck circle, and there the basketball player is at the free throw line looking at the basket. He doesn't have to wonder how tall it is today or which way the wind comes from. It's always the same. What he's doing in that picture is visualizing himself making the shot. It goes to this idea of if you can see it, you can believe it, you can do it. Stay positive and visualize success. One thing that I had to really teach myself was that I can't expect perfection. In my opinion, perfection in public speaking is not real. It's not something that is achievable. In fact, the best speech I feel that we have a record of, a recording of, is Dr. King's I Have a Dream speech. Now, when you think of the I Have a Dream speech, it was masterful. It was powerful. It changed the world. However, if you look at Dr. King's notes, you will find two places where he had a slight error. Does that mean that we shouldn't see it as a great speech? Absolutely not. The reason I tell you this is because if that speech, the greatest we know of, had two small bumps in the road, what do you think your speech will have? The key here is that you don't want to make something minor into something major. People will hit these small little imperfections in the path of their speech, and they will make them into craters. They will get flustered, lose their place, and start apologizing for doing so. They'll announce their anxiety. Remember, don't do that. If you make a mistake, that's okay. Just correct yourself if necessary, and then move on. Last here is be in your best condition. Here are some basic tips, and that's the first one. This means be hydrated, be well rested if possible. Next, use deep breathing techniques if you feel your nerves building before you give your presentation. I like to use 4 square breathing. This is when you breathe in for 4 seconds, you hold your breath for 4 seconds, you breathe out for 4 seconds, and then hold empty for 4 seconds. This works in 2 different ways. Mentally, it changes your negative thoughts that are going through your mind to you hearing a voice counting to 4 over and over again. It's a little trick of mine, but I like to have the voice have it's a woman's voice with a British accent. I don't know. I find that particularly calming for some reason. You might want to picture or imagine it to be the voice of a loved one or whatever makes you feel very peaceful. Physiologically, this deep breathing, 4 square breathing works because it limits the amount of oxygen going into your body. When that happens, your body usually starts to slow things down, and that can help you relax. Third, think about muscle flexion and relaxation, not while you're speaking, but while you're waiting to speak. So, for example, if you are sitting in the audience waiting on your name to be called, try flexing your quads there in your legs. Flex them as hard as you can, and then let them just go completely limp. Do that in about 5 second increments and try it in a round of 3 to 5 repetitions. What you might find is that some of the blood that was going to your brain and your upper body, causing you to feel flush, may move to the lower extremities of your body. Again, this isn't something that is physiological, it's completely physiologically accurate. However, it can distract you in a way that few other things can. Last, nail the introduction. Practice the most with the opening of the speech. If you get off to a good start, you've set yourself on a nice path towards success. However, if there are multiple mistakes and errors in the introduction, you have a bumpy start, and that can be tougher to recover from, especially for new speakers. So try to start strong, and then you can hopefully end strong as well. So today, we've talked about how the fear of speaking is real, but very normal. We discussed the illusion of transparency and how, for speakers, their anxiety always feels worse than it looks to their audience. We talked about the importance of knowing your specific symptoms and preparing for them. And last, we discussed some general tools and tactics that can help you manage your speech anxiety. Remember, even the best speakers deal with stress and anxiety. Here is a picture of then Senator Obama. This is when he was running for president in 2008. I did not take this picture, but it was shot at my high school. President Obama was backstage waiting to go out and give a speech. While he's there in the gym, he found a soccer ball and started to kick it around, juggle it, play a little game with himself. This was a way for him to distract himself from being anxious about what he was about to do. When we think anxious speakers, we probably don't think Barack Obama. But again, he was able to find a way to distract himself. If he had to find a way to manage stress and anxiety, just imagine that you will too. One thing you have available to you, if you're a Grand Valley student, staff, or faculty member, is the Grand Valley Speech Lab. You can visit us online at gvsu.edu/speechlab. Right now, as I'm recording this, it is March and school is closed because of the coronavirus outbreak. However, we are available for virtual consultations, and that is through our website. Also on the website, you'll find the resource market that is online and running. This is where you can find a variety of guide sheets on a variety of topics. Check those out and see if those are helpful. And of course, visit us in the virtual consultation area. So, the next time you give a presentation, yes, you may be very nervous, but hopefully now you have some ideas that could help ease that anxiety. Because remember, when you're nervous, you're normal.